Hello, and thank you for joining me again for the reading of God's Word. Today I'll be reading Genesis chapters 10, 11, and 12. And I ask that you be patient with me because chapter 10 is giving a lot of names that are very hard to pronounce. Chapter 10. This is the account of the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the three sons of Noah. Many children were born to them after the great flood. Descendants of Japheth. The descendants of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Medea, Javan, Tubal, Meshish, and Tyrus. The descendants of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The descendants of Javan were Elish, Tarish, Kittim, and Rodanin. The descendants became the seafaring people that spread out to various lands, each identified by its own language, clan, and national identity. Descendants of Ham. The descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabata, Ramah, and Sebteca. The descendants of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush was also the ancestor of Nimrod, who was the first heroic warrior on earth. Since he was the greatest hunter in the world, his name becomes proverbial. People would say this man is like Nimrod, the greatest hunter in the world. He built his kingdom in the land of Babylonia with the cities of Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh. From there, he expanded his territory to Assyria, building the cities of Nineveh, Robotha, Kala, and Rezin, the great city located between Neviah and Kala. Mizraim was the ancestor of the Ludites, Anamites, Lehabites, Napuites, Petruites, Calsuites, and the Caphtorites, from whom the Philistines came. Canaan's oldest brother was Sidon, the ancestor of the Sidonians. Canaan was also the ancestor of the Hittites, Jubilees, Amorites, Gigartes, Hivites, Arakites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemirates, and Hamathites. The Canaanite clans eventually spread out, and the territory of Canaan extended from Sidon to the north to Gerar and Gaza in the south, and east far as Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboam near Lashay. These were the descendants of Ham, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity. Descendants of Shem. Sons were also born to Shem, the elder brother of Japheth. Shem was the ancestor of all the descendants of Eber. The descendants of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Arpakshad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpakshad was the father of Sheleah, and Sheleah was the father of Eber. Eber had two sons. The first was named Peleg, which means division, for during his lifetime the people of the world were divided into different language groups. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan was the ancestor of Alamadad, Shelphe, Hazamethe, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimiah, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were descendants of Joktan. The territory they occupied extended from Mesha all the way to Sephar in the eastern mountains. These were the descendants of Shem, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity. Conclusion. These are the clans that descended from Noah's sons, arranged by nation according to their lines of descent. All the nations of the earth descended from these clans after the great flood. Chapter 11. The Tower of Babel. At one point, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As the people migrated to the east, they found a plain in the land of Babylonia and settled there. They began saying to each other, "Let's make bricks and harden them with fire." In this region, bricks were used instead of stone, and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world." But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. "Look," he said, "the people are united, and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other." In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city. That is why the city was called Babel, because that is where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. The line of descent from Shem to Abram. This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arpad. After the birth of Arpad, Shem lived another 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arpad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arpad lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived another 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived another 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Sherug. After the birth of Sherug, Reu lived another 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Sharu was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahar. After the birth of Nahar, Sharu lived another 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahar was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nahar lived another 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. The family of Terah. This is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. But died in Ur of the Chaldeans, the land of his birth, while his father Terah was still living. Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. But Sarah was unable to become pregnant and had no children. One day Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarah, his son's wife, and his grandson. One day Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarah, his son Abram's wife, and his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and moved away from Ur of Chaldeans. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years and died while still in Haran. Chapter 12. The call of Abram. The Lord has said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I will give this land to your descendants. And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages toward the Negev. Abram and Sarai in Egypt. At that time, severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, Abram said to his wife Sarai, Look, you are a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, This is his wife. Let's kill him, then we can have her. So please tell them you are my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you. And sure enough, Abram arrived in Egypt. Everyone noticed Sarah's beauty. When the palace officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, their king, and Sarah was taken into his palace. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female, donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarah, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. What have you done to me? He demanded. Why did you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister and allow me to take her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get out of here. Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them, and he sent Abram out of the country along with his wife and all his possessions. Thank you so much for joining me today for the reading of God's Word. Today, we read Genesis chapters 10, 11, and 12, and I encourage you to come back for the reading of Genesis chapters 13, 14, and 15. Have a great rest of your night and stay blessed. Bye bye.